So tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You are at home, you're working, you're getting stuff done, and then suddenly it's like mid afternoon and you have this amazing craving for something, and it has to be something sweet. And you can't think of anything in the house. So you go scrounging and you can't find something. So you just go digging through all the cupboards and the drawers and all the places where you might have hidden food. And finally, you find something and you gobble it up. And then you can breathe and then you can go back to work. If you consider yourself a sugar addict, as I do, that is going to sound like a fairly typical occurrence in your life. And I've certainly had many, many occasions like that. So I want to talk to you today about what it takes to actually quit sugar when you are somebody like that. Hi, everybody. I'm Ricki Heller from rickiheller.com, and I help people on restricted diets learn to love their food again so that they can stick with it for the long term, lose their symptoms, and get their lives back. So, the reason I thought of this is because I was talking to a friend. Hey, everybody. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was saying that she was working at home as she does. We both work at home, and she said it was around 3 p.m. and she just had this overwhelming need. It wasn't even just a desire, it was a need for something sweet that had sugar in it. And she went crazy through the house because she doesn't normally have stuff like that in her house because she knows it's so appealing to her. And she finally found, like, way down in the bottom of a drawer with their Christmas ornaments, some candy canes, and she just ate the candy canes. And it really made me think about this drive that those of us who feel addicted to sugar have for sugar. And the question I started thinking about is, like, what does it take? Because she was saying, I just don't understand it. I don't want to eat the sugar, but I'm always eating the sugary things. And it's like something compels me to do it. What does it really take to quit sugar? Now, those of you who know me know that I have not eaten sugar except for a very short period in 2008. I haven't eaten sugar since 1999. And by that, I mean any added refined sugar, cane sugar, sucanat, white sugar, any sugar additives, corns, what do you call it? High fructose corn syrup, any of those things that would be considered sugar. Now, I have eaten lower glycemic natural sweeteners over the years. And for the past close to 5 years now, I haven't eaten any higher glycemic sweeteners. So the only sweeteners I consume right now are stevia or stevia, depending how you pronounce it, um, xylitol or other sugar alcohols like erythritol. Lakanto is a blend with erythritol, yacon syrup, and monk fruit. That's it. So how do you get to that point? And what I realize is it really depends on what is the source of your wanting the sugar in the first place. And really, it only comes down to three things. There are only three reasons why we crave sugar or we eat sugary things when our mind doesn't want us to. So maybe you can relate and think about which one relates to you. So most people are familiar with this concept of the sugar crash, right? Where for most of us, and I certainly remember this in my work days when I was working in an office around 2 or 3 p.m., I suddenly had this lull where, like, I had no energy and I'd go seek out something with sugar in it. And the reason for that is purely physiological. It's because my blood sugar had crashed after eating probably a high carb breakfast in those days. And my body needed energy, so I was craving sugar. That for most people is very common, but it isn't the most long term reason we would say we're addicted to sugar, because that's the easiest one to fix. You rebalance your food, you no longer have those sugar cravings. So, as soon as I went on an anti candida diet and I rebalanced my blood sugar, that was no longer a reason why I was craving sugar. So, that wouldn't be the cure for me. It wasn't. I was on this anti candida diet and I was still craving sweet things for close to a year. And then, even then, up and down, right? So, what are the other reasons? Well, a really common one is purely habit, purely habitual. So in my friend's case, I would say it might have been a combination of both. For myself, for sure. So now that I'm working at home and my husband's working at home, we have this little routine where, we say, "Hi, honey, have a nice day." We go off into our separate rooms and we work, and then we meet for lunch. But what has happened in recent weeks is hubby goes for a little snack at around 11 in the morning. So we start about 8 in the morning, and around 11 he goes for a little snack. And, I'm just in a room down the hall. I can hear the hubbub. The dog gets up, wants to go down. So I go down. Hi, how you doing? How's your day so far? Blah, blah, blah. He's eating his banana, which as a candida person, I can't eat. So I go looking for something to eat and I find myself a little snack. And maybe in the beginning, it's whatever's around, right? I can't even think, I might have had some kale crackers hanging out or something like that. But what has happened is now I've noticed I start to feel antsy and like I need a little snack at around 11 o'clock in the morning because it's totally habitual. My body has grown accustomed to getting up, going downstairs, scrounging through the fridge, finding something. So that's a purely habitual reason. And so for many, many people who eat sweets and eat sugary things, that's the reason why. It's not because your body's hungry. It's not because your blood sugar's out of balance. It's just because you do it every day and your body's used to it. So a perfect example of that is eating while watching TV, right? So for a lot of people, that is the reason why they have sweets at night because it's just habit. And for many, many years, we would have dessert after every dinner. And because it's easy to make a homemade version of sugar-free ice cream for me, and I like ice cream, we would end up having ice cream many, many nights of the week. And I realized after a while, this was feeling too heavy. This was way too much. I stopped making as much ice cream. It wasn't there. That habit disappeared. So changing your habits can be another way to rebalance and to actually quit the sugar that way. And then the third one, which I think is the most challenging and definitely takes the longest time to rebalance, but it's the one also with the longest long-term positive effects, is emotional eating. So if you're eating as a comfort, or if you're eating as a way to deal with anger, or if you're eating as a way to deal with sadness or the chaos and anxiety and all those things that are going on in our world, then that's an emotional reason. And that has to be addressed before you're going to lose those cravings for sugar because of that. Now, for most people, it's a little bit of a combination of all three, but you can, and certainly when I work with people, we address them one at a time. So we resolve the physiological, then the habitual, then the emotional, and will find, I have found 100% of the time, once you deal with all three of those and you've rebalanced all three, no more sugar cravings. For me, what has worked is initially, so when you're working with a physiological problem, your body wants something sweet, and certainly when it's a habit. So, what worked beautifully for me was to find sweet alternatives that looked and tasted the same as the ones I was missing, and that satisfied both my body because blood sugar was remained balanced. If you're eating a chocolate bar or a candy bar, as it's called in the States, chocolate bar that's made with sugar versus something like Lily's chocolate, which still would tap into the emotional, but not the physiological because it doesn't raise your blood sugar. That's going to be different in terms of your physical reaction. But if you're eating a Sara Lee brownie versus a homemade sugar-free brownie, that's going to be different as well. So I was able to eat those treats and not affect my blood sugar. So that doesn't then keep you going back for more. And it also doesn't cause that crash at 3 p.m. So you could have a brownie, not that I do, but you can have a brownie at 11 a.m. It's not going to cause a blood crash at 3 p.m. if it's the right kind of brownie. So that was the first step for me. And then, of course, working on habits, working on emotions. Those were the other two incremental steps that really just brought it to a new level. So, whereas in the beginning I was eating all those sweet treats, now I don't eat them. I hardly ever eat them. It's not the same compulsion to eat sweet treats, even if they don't have sugar. So it's really like a three-step process. But once you handle all three of those areas, you're going to find the same thing, that those cravings are just gone. You don't need it anymore. There's no reason to eat those sweet treats. It isn't part of what you're seeking. It just isn't necessary. So it's not like you're preventing yourself from eating them. You don't even want them anymore. And that is truly where you get to the point of freedom with sugar. and you don't have to have sugar anymore. So I wanted to help you guys with that first step. I've had lots of questions about how to create treats without sugar that taste, look, have the same texture, have the same taste, have the same appearance as the treats that you're used to eating without sugar. And so I want to let you know about my workshop that's coming up on February 11th. So right before Valentine's Day, you can create all kinds of yummy chocolates and other treats for Valentine's Day and beyond. So that's coming up on February 11th. It's called Sugar Freedom. We're going to look at all of the different sweeteners. What are they? How do you decide which one to use? How do you actually use them in the recipe in terms of any special prep or measurements or whatever? And how do you substitute one for the other? So if I have a recipe for a brownie that I know is delicious and I really want that same brownie taste and that same brownie texture, how can I use a sugar-free alternative and recreate it? How do I know how much to use? How do I know how to mix it in? Do I have to add any other ingredients and so on? I'm going to go through all of that in this live workshop. It's live and it will also be recorded. And I'm going to share everything that I have learned over the years as a holistic nutritionist and a whole food chef making this stuff so that you can just go off and recreate all of those delicious treats for yourself. So to get on the wait list, if you want to be the first to know about registration, it's at rickiheller.com/SF workshop list. That's SF as in sugar free workshop list, all one word. And you can sign up right there. And then we will let you know as soon as that registration opens, probably in about a week or so. So if anybody has any questions right now about the workshop or anything else, please let me know. I would love to answer them. And I know there's always a delay here, so I'm just going to wait a few seconds. Let me know if there's anything I can answer for you about the workshop, or just leave it in the comments below, and I will be sure to get back to you in the next day or two. Hope to see you guys there. Hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions or comments about this topic as well. And I will see you guys again soon.